story opened with a young woman named Hyun Woo. At 18, she was already working as a TV news reporter. Viewers were captivated by her, and among her fans was a conscripted soldier named Myung-soon, who completely adored her. 2 years passed. Now at 20, Hyun Woo became even more beautiful and even more popular with the audience. Around this time, we meet her best friend, a guy named Ju-won. Ju-won was incredibly unlucky in love. Every time he got into a relationship, things always ended on the 100th day. Some girlfriends left to get married to someone else. Others simply could not stand the way he smelled after sweating. 5 years later, he managed to get a new girlfriend again. As usual, he reached that 100-day mark and planned to celebrate their anniversary. Instead of a happy memory, he got dumped with a vague and frustrating reason. He felt sad but not devastated. More than anything, he could not stop wondering why his life kept repeating the same pattern. On his way back to his apartment, he suddenly saw a fire in the building. When he looked closely, he realized it was his own room that was burning, all because of a candle he had left lit. The police came, and he was immediately taken into custody. It was an incredibly unlucky day for him, but he still felt fortunate to have Hyun Woo in his life. Even though she had become a famous host, she was still the same caring best friend who always looked out for him. When she arrived at the station, all the officers were stunned by her presence and crowded around her, which made it much easier for Ju-won to be released earlier than expected. Outside the station, Hyun Woo scolded him for being so reckless, getting dumped and then practically burning his place down. Ju-won, still shaken from being arrested and embarrassed about having wet his pants in fear, tried to seek comfort, but Hyun Woo stayed upset with him. In the end, she decided they should go out for drinks. When they arrived at a bar, the staff mentioned that Hyun Woo had been coming there often lately and drinking quite a lot, which hinted that she was going through something serious. Over glasses of soju, Hyun Woo finally opened up. She admitted that her boyfriend was already married, yet she loved him deeply. She felt painfully jealous whenever he chose his wife over her. Ju-won tried to give her advice, telling her that an affair with a married man would never bring real happiness and would only leave her heartbroken and ruin her career. However, his words did not land. Hyun Woo had drunk too much, and eventually she completely passed out. Ju-won had no choice but to carry her home. And from here, the chaos begins. This is Love Forecast. In her drunken state, Hyun Woo called her boyfriend and told him she was with another man, even pushing Ju-won to make noise in the background, just to make the guy jealous. The next morning, Hyun Woo woke up in the living room, not in her own place, but in the home of Ju-won's parents. It turned out she was already very close to his family. She was even in their family photos. During breakfast, Ju-won's father casually mentioned that she had been sleeping there drunk almost every night that week. He suggested that instead of wasting money on an apartment, she might as well just live there. After all, Ju-won was always protecting her, and the father even hinted that she should marry him one day. After breakfast, Ju-won walked Hyun Woo back to her apartment. Everything seemed normal until he accidentally caught a glimpse of her while she was changing. The moment completely stunned him. His whole body reacted, and for the first time he realized just how attractive his best friend had become. When Hyun Woo opened the door a moment later, he panicked so much that he fell over, exposing the fact that he had been unintentionally watching her. For the rest of the day, Ju-won became overly protective. He hovered around her, blocking flirtatious men and keeping anyone from getting too close. Even though they were just friends, he suddenly felt this strange mix of worry and admiration. At one point, he tried to understand what kind of man she was actually looking for, and Hyun Woo casually mentioned that she wanted someone who was not only handsome but also wealthy. Before she headed to work, her boss Lee handed her a cup of coffee, a small gesture to smooth things over between them. It worked almost instantly. A little romance and attention were more than enough to pull her back in. Later that day, Ju-won called Hyun Woo to remind her of their plan to grab her favorite chicken feet. But before she could answer, Lee appeared again and sent her a message asking her out. Hyun Woo chose to ignore Ju-won's voice on the phone and let the moment pass. That night, she brought Lee a gift to apologize. Things might have gone smoothly, but then his wife called and demanded he come home immediately. Meanwhile, with nothing else to do, Ju-won hung out at a bar with Dong-jin. But Dong-jin got a call from his staff and had to rush back because customers were pouring in. Left alone, Ju-won's attention drifted toward a stunning woman sitting nearby. Her name was Hee-jin, and she quickly noticed him sneaking glances. Curious, she asked what he did for a living. When he said he was an elementary school teacher, she immediately perked up, finding the job charming. She leaned in, asking if he had a girlfriend, and from there the vibe shifted. She started dancing playfully in front of him, confident and alluring, and Ju-won found himself completely captivated. The two ended up having a great time together. Caught up in the moment, Ju-won forgot all about Hyun-woo, who by then was heartbroken again after Lee left to return to his wife. She called him repeatedly, but he never picked up. When Heejin finally went home, Ju-won checked his phone and was shocked to see message after message from Hyun-woo. He rushed to pick her up. Hyun-woo, still upset, refused to go home until she finished her drink. Annoyed but worried, Ju-won gulped it down for her. Even as friends, they were incredibly close. Ju-won had always cared for her, protected her, and spoiled her, and he had been doing that ever since they were kids. Hyun-woo eventually returned to work and appeared on the weather segment. But this time, she showed up in a far more eye-catching outfit than usual. Her new look drew a wave of comments from viewers. As she scrolled through them, one message stood out and sent a chill through her. Someone claimed to have seen her entering a hotel with a married man. What the viewers did not know was that the man in the post was Lee, her own team leader. The rumor spread instantly. It went viral, and before long, Lee was called in and reprimanded by his superiors. The pressure changed him. His usual warmth disappeared, replaced by a distant and formal attitude toward Hyun-woo. Rather than let the scandal destroy his family and career, he chose to end their relationship. While all this unfolded, Ju-won grew closer to Heejin, and they began dating. Things were finally looking up for him until a man suddenly approached. That man turned out to be Heejin's real boyfriend. Ju-won felt crushed. He had not even reached 10 days, let alone 100, and he was already in trouble again. Feeling completely fed up with his life, he went to Dong-jin's bar to let out his frustration. Dong-jin tried to comfort him as a good friend. Not long after, Hyun-woo arrived in the same state of emotional exhaustion. Dong-jin and Min-ah stayed with both of them, and to give them a safe space to unwind, Dong-jin closed the bar for the night. There, Hyun-woo opened up. She insisted that Lee was actually a good man. Hearing that pushed Ju-won over the edge, and he snapped at her. But Hyun-woo, seeing his frustration, softened the moment and lightened the mood. Ju-won apologized and tried to cheer her up again. Once things calmed down, he poured his heart out. He reminded her of everything from their childhood. How she lived with his family when they were little so she could attend school. How he once gave her flowers and asked her to be his girlfriend. How she hugged him to check whether his heart beat faster, only to claim she felt nothing. How she dragged him onto the drop tower because she wanted a brave boyfriend, and how he fainted from terror. She thought he wet his pants, when in reality it was just spilled soda. He ended up in the hospital and developed a lasting fear of heights. Yet he always stayed by her side. Even after all these years, he still believed she did not trust his feelings. Hearing all of this, Hyun-woo finally remembered every moment. She hugged him, but in her usual playful way, she still insisted that she did not feel his heartbeat. That pushed Ju-won past his limit. He declared that once they finished their drinks, they should start dating. And the moment he put his glass down, he leaned in and kissed her. Surprised but unwilling to lose, Hyun-woo kissed him back. And the two finally shared a long overdue moment of honesty. The next morning, Ju-won woke up and saw Hyun-woo sleeping beside him. For the first time in 18 years, he felt genuinely happy. During breakfast with his parents, Hyun-woo suddenly called them Mom and Dad, stunning both of them. Then she dropped an even bigger surprise by announcing that she and Ju-won were officially dating. The news was so shocking that Ju-won nearly choked on the spot. On their way to work the next morning, Hyun-woo mentioned that after 18 years, that kiss with Ju-won had been their first. But she admitted she did not feel her heart racing. Hearing that, Ju-won immediately let go of her hand and casually claimed he felt nothing too. That comment struck her the wrong way. Her expression changed, irritation rising, and she snapped at him in frustration. What she did not admit was that she had actually begun to feel something. Yet his careless remark made her swear she would never fall in love again. As days went by, Ju-won quietly returned to Hyun-woo's apartment each afternoon. He cleaned, tidied up the place, cooked dinner, and always left before she came home. When Hyun-woo walked through the door each night and saw the freshly cleaned home and warm meal waiting, something softened inside her. It helped her finally let go of her memories with Lee and make a real effort to move on. The next morning at school, Ju-won was stunned when the principal introduced a new teacher. It was Heejin, the same woman he had dated briefly and broken up with less than a week ago. Later that day, Hyun-woo and Ju-won took their usual walk together after work. Suddenly, Ju-won's old military friend Myung-sun showed up. Since he was a huge fan of Hyun-woo, Ju-won quickly tried to steer the moment away. That evening, the three of them ended up drinking together. During a toast, Myung-sun ignored Ju-won's glass entirely, which stung more than he wanted to admit. Trying to hide his jealousy, Ju-won pretended to answer a phone call, even though Hyun-woo could tell he was faking it. After the meal, Hyun-woo followed Myung-sun to his place. She was shocked to see his walls covered with photographs of her. Myung-sun explained that he fell in love at first sight years ago when she visited Ju-won. After finishing his military service, he became a photographer and quietly followed her career everywhere she went. Meanwhile, at school, Ju-won was teaching when one of his students asked about his first love. Hee-jin happened to pass by and overheard his answer. Without hesitation, Ju-won told his class that his first love was a girl he met when he was 11. After work, Hee-jin walked home with him and asked if she had been someone he loved or someone who loved him, and who exactly that first love was. Ju-won answered honestly, it was Hyun-woo, though now she was only a friend in his life. That afternoon, Ju-won continued spending time with Hee-jin and took her to a small restaurant he loved for chicken feet. Across town, Hyun-woo happened to be eating the same dish with Myung-sun. When Ju-won walked in and spotted them, he immediately turned around and left to find another place. It should have been a happy moment for him. Hee-jin was the first woman who truly cared for him, yet he still could not feel comfortable or joyful. His thoughts were filled with Hyun-woo, and he slipped up by mentioning her name constantly during their conversation. Hee-jin finally had enough. She was tired of feeling like she had to compete with Hyun-woo and left in frustration. Ju-won grew more and more restless. No matter how hard he tried, he could not stop thinking about Hyun-woo. His jealousy toward Myung-sun kept rising, and he reached a point where he began calling and tracking her repeatedly, unable to control the emotions building inside him. The next morning, Hyun-woo found herself overwhelmed by Ju-won's sudden obsession. For the first time ever, she lied to him about where she was. What she did not know was that he was actually nearby, hiding in the bushes while calling her non-stop. He followed her the entire day, dialing her again and again. By evening, Ju-won could no longer hold back and decided to join Hyun-woo and Myung-sun for dinner. Myung-sun immediately felt uncomfortable with his presence. To break the tense mood, he suggested a little game where the loser would pay for the meal. Hyun-woo agreed and whispered to Myung-sun that Ju-won always chose paper, and she was right. Ju-won used paper, lost the game, and ended up paying the entire bill. When it was time to go home, Hyun-woo felt sorry for him. Myung-sun walked off without waiting for Ju-won, leaving him alone at the counter settling the bill. Instead of heading straight home, Hyun-woo and Myung-sun stopped by a nearby park. There, Myung-sun admitted he was bothered by Ju-won following them everywhere. Before Hyun-woo could respond, Ju-won called again. Frustrated, Ju-won vented to Dong-jin, explaining how every relationship he had ended exactly at 100 days and lately even faster. His emotions were worn out, and he could not understand why his feelings for Hyun-woo refused to fade. Dong-jin simply told him that it was because Hyun-woo was the one who truly fit him, and that was why he could never let go. That gave Ju-won a burst of determination. He decided he would keep chasing after Hyun-woo. But when he tried calling her again, her phone was suddenly turned off. Meanwhile, Myung-sun quietly observed Hyun-woo's troubled expression. He could tell she still had unresolved feelings for Lee. He also sensed that she was confused about Ju-won, unsure whether he was just a friend or something more, and that realization saddened him. When Myung-sun finally walked Hyun-woo home, she was startled to find Ju-won waiting right at her doorstep. He immediately tried to stop her from dating Myung-sun, insisting that Myung-sun was not the right man and not the true love she had been searching for. Annoyed, Hyun-woo stepped into the elevator. Outside the doors, Ju-won kept talking, unaware that she could still hear every word. He confessed how he had supported her for 18 years, always standing behind her, yet she never turned around to see him. His honesty revealed a deep jealousy and heartbreak that had been building for years. Hearing this, Hyun-woo began to cry. She suddenly opened the elevator doors, shocking him. She reminded him that she never asked him to love her. Then she asked him to stop seeing her altogether. The breakup shattered him. After this painful moment, Hyun-woo finally deleted all her photos with Lee. She started to see how much Ju-won had cared for her all along, though she had never truly understood it. She went back to Myung-sun to apologize, telling him she could not be his girlfriend. Before she left, he handed her a photograph he had treasured, a memory he had kept of her for years. Meanwhile, Dongjin and Min Ah were preparing for their wedding. As a sweet gesture, they brought chicken feet, the favorite dish of both Ju-won and Hyun-woo. But Ju-won refused to eat any of it. He was tired of the memories tied to that dish and refused to talk about Hyun-woo at all. Not long after, while Ju-won was at work, one of his students rushed to him with breaking news. A photo of Hyun-woo and Lee had gone viral online. It spread everywhere. The truth was, Myung-sun had taken that picture and given it to someone who disliked Hyun-woo and wanted to damage her reputation. Because of the scandal, Hyun-woo resigned from her job and returned to her parents' home. There, she finally realized how much Ju-won had protected her over the past 18 years. At the same time, she still felt hurt by his words, the ones claiming she had never looked back at him. She knew that was not true. She knew he had loved her sincerely all along. Even with her stubborn nature, she deeply missed him. At home, she asked her mother why she was not being scolded. Her mother simply told her there was no reason to be angry. She was grown, she was hurting, and things like this were part of life. She reminded her that love is not always smooth, but it eventually works out. When Hyun-woo asked whether her father had been like that when he was young, her mother said yes. He had been very similar to Ju-won. Eventually, Hyun-woo returned to her apartment to pack her belongings. While sorting through her things, she finally looked at the photograph Myung-sun had given her. It turned out to be a picture of her and Ju-won from years ago. Myung-sun had quietly followed their story and captured moments she never realized were being saved. At school, Ju-won's students encouraged him to chase after her. Their words lit a spark in him. He left the classroom at once and ran as fast as he could. At the same time, Hyun-woo was preparing to leave her apartment for good. As she walked out, memories rushed back. Moments from childhood, moments of Ju-won taking care of her, moments she had taken for granted. Ju-won caught up to her just in time, stopping her taxi. Without hesitation, he brought her to one particular place. It was the drop tower ride, the very thing he feared the most. He wanted to prove his love in a way she could never doubt. Even with his fear of heights, he was determined to show her how serious he was. For 18 years, he had failed to express his feelings properly, but this time, he was certain he would succeed. He told her he no longer wanted to be just her friend. He wanted to be the person she chose. He begged her not to leave for Europe and to stay in Korea with him instead. In the end, Ju-won managed to confess everything.
사랑해, 현우야!
나도 사랑해!
His love outweighed his fear, though. The moment the ride began, he fainted from terror. He was taken to the hospital, but Hyun-woo never let go of his hand. From the moment he arrived until the moment he woke up, she stayed right beside him. From that day on, Hyun-woo truly fell in love with him. Their relationship only grew stronger with each passing day. Their love kept expanding, kept deepening, and they finally found the happiness they had been chasing for 18 long years. So the moral of the story is, if your love life keeps exploding every 100 days, just marry your clingy best friend before the chicken feet and drop tower finish you off first.